Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is Nishit Kumar, and with me is Nipunika Shahid, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar will attend the G20 ministerial meetings in Rome on Tuesday. Swedish Prime Minister Stefan Löfven resigns a week after losing vote of confidence. Iraq, Egypt and Jordan hold tripartite talks in Baghdad to deepen regional alliance. India surpasses US in the number of COVID vaccines administered. Prime Minister Modi hails the achievement. Bangladesh reports highest single-day COVID-19 infection. Army to enforce strict lockdown from the 1st of July. Explosion in Dhaka kills at least 7 people and injures 50 others. In tennis, Novak Djokovic kicks off the third consecutive Wimbledon title hunt with a win over Jack Draper. In ISSF World Cup shooting, India's Rahi Sarnabat wins the gold in women's 25 meters pistol event in Osijek, Croatia. And in Euro 2020 football, Croatia take on Spain and France will take on Switzerland in the round of 16 knockout matches. As the nation gears up for the free COVID-19 vaccination campaign at government facilities for those above 18 years, we advise our listeners to get vaccinated. We also advise our listeners not to lower their guard as COVID-19 remains a threat to our health. Please stay at home unless it is essential to go out and continue to follow the 4 simple steps. Wear a face mask. Maintain 2 gaz ki doori for social distancing. Focus on hand and face hygiene and get vaccinated. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 011 2397 8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar will attend the G20 ministerial meeting in Italy on Tuesday. Dr. Jaishankar earlier visited Greece ahead of the meeting. Italy holds the presidency of the G20 from December 2020. The Foreign Affairs Ministers' meeting is one of the ministerial meetings organized as part of the G20 Leaders Summit 2021. A report.
The G20 Foreign Ministers meeting to be held on the 29th of June will focus on global governance and multilateralism, sustainable development and Africa. In a statement, the group said that for the first time in the G20 history, a joint session of the Foreign and Development Ministers will take place in Matera. The Foreign Ministers meeting will feature 2 sessions. The first one will focus on global governance and multilateralism as a key tool to address major global challenges and promote a sustainable and resilient recovery. At the heart of the debate will be the need to strengthen international cooperation and multilateral institutions in key areas such as global health, sustainable development, climate action, and international trade. Session 2 will be devoted to the relations with the African continent with a specific focus on sustainable development. Both topics on the agenda have been developed along the lines of 3 pillars of the G20 Italian presidency: people, planet, prosperity, and in line with the Build Back Better common thread aimed at promoting a sustainable, inclusive, and resilient recovery. This is Pavan for World News AIR.
Sweden's Prime Minister Stefan Löfven resigned on Monday, a week after losing a vote of confidence. It is now up to Speaker of Parliament to begin the search for a replacement. Mr. Löfven could have either called a snap election or resigned following the no-confidence vote last week. He told a press conference a snap election was not what is best for Sweden, pointing out the difficult situation the COVID-19 pandemic posed, coupled with the fact that the next general election is a year away. According to reports, the vote was called after a left-wing party withdrew its support for Löfven's minority government due to a clash over proposed reforms to Sweden's rental market. It will now be up to the parliamentary speaker Andreas Norlén to open negotiations with parties to find a new prime minister. Löfven's government will stay on temporarily to handle routine tasks until a new administration is formed. India achieved another milestone in COVID-19 vaccination and overtakes the US in total number of COVID vaccine doses administered. The Health Ministry said 32.85 crore vaccine doses have been administered so far under the nationwide vaccination drive. Recovery rate has further increased to 96.80%. Total recoveries across the country so far is over 2 crore 93 lakhs. Over 58,000 patients recovered during the last 24 hours. Daily recoveries continue to outnumber the daily new cases for the 46th consecutive day. Over 46,000 new cases were reported in the last 24 hours. India's active caseload declined to over 5,72,000. Active cases constitute 1.89% of the total cases. Weekly positivity rate remains below 5% and currently is at 2.81%. Daily positivity rate is at 2.94% and it is less than 5% for the 25 consecutive days. 979 deaths were reported in the last 24 hours. The death toll due to the coronavirus pandemic has reached over 3,96,000. Testing capacity has been substantially ramped up. Until now, 40.63 crore tests have been conducted. Meanwhile, the Chief Executive Officer of the National Health Authority, Dr. R.S. Sarma, said that the Prime Minister's office has directed the creation of an open-source version of CoWIN. The open-source version will be made available free of cost to any interested country. Our correspondent reports that several countries have evinced interest in the COVID-19 vaccine registration portal, CoWIN. These include over 50 countries from across Central Asia, Latin America and Africa.
Meanwhile, COVID restrictions imposed in the national capital were further relaxed today as Delhi witnesses a decline in the corona cases. As part of further opening up of activities, gyms and yoga institutes have been permitted to open. The new relaxation came into effect at 5 this morning. More from our correspondent.
COVID situation in Delhi has significantly improved in the last few weeks due to continuous decline in coronavirus cases. In view of this, Delhi Disaster Management Authority had decided to permit few activities. Gyms and yoga institutes have been allowed to function with 50% capacity. Ceiling on the number of guests in the marriage function has also been raised from 20 to 50. Owners of banquet halls, marriage halls, hotels, gyms and yoga institutes shall be responsible for ensuring strict compliances of COVID-appropriate behavior. However, school, colleges and other educational institutions will remain closed. All social, political, cultural and religious activities will be prohibited. Cinema halls, theatres, multiplexes, entertainment parks, spas, assembly halls and auditoriums are not allowed to open. All these restrictions and prohibitions in the national capital will continue till 5th July of next month. Bhupendra Singh, AIR News, Delhi.
The Union Government on Monday announced a stimulus package of 6,28,993 crore rupees to boost economy during the fight against COVID-19 pandemic. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced several economic relief measures amid COVID pandemic, including 8 economic relief measures, of which 4 are new and 1 is specific to health infrastructure. Addressing media in New Delhi, the Finance Minister announced 1.1 lakh crore rupee loan guarantee scheme for COVID-affected sectors. She said of them, 50,000 crore rupees will be for health sector.
Total to 1.1 lakh crore guarantee which is being given for particularly COVID-affected sectors. And in that, health sector with a 50,000 crore cover receives attention for scaling up medical infrastructure.
Scheme aimed at upscaling medical infrastructure targeting unreserved areas. Ms. Sitharaman said that the guarantee cover will be for expansion and new projects related to medical infrastructure in cities other than 8 metropolitan cities. The 50% of the guarantee coverage will for expansion and 75% for new projects. She announced that for aspirational districts, the guarantee cover of 75% for the new projects and expansion. In yet another decision related to reviving tourism sector, Ms. Sitharaman announced financial support to more than 11,000 registered tourist guides and travel and tourism stakeholders. She said that under it, loan will be provided with 100% guarantee with the limits of 10 lakh rupees to travel and tourism stakeholders per agency and 1 lakh rupees for tourist guides licensed at regional or state level. The Finance Minister also announced free tourist visa to 5 lakh tourists, the total financial implication of which will be 100 crore rupees.
Once we start visa issuance again, the first 5 lakh tourist visas will be issued totally free of charge. This will benefit for any tourist only once. The scheme will be applicable till 31st March 2022 or till the first 5 lakh of visas get covered. In other words, till 31st March 2022 or till the first 5 lakh tourist visas are issued, everyone gets free tourist visa.
Now let us take a look at the coronavirus updates from around the world. The COVID-19 situation in Bangladesh continued to be alarming, with the highest number of single-day infections being reported from the country on Monday. According to the latest bulletin of Directorate General of Health Services, DGHS, 8,364 new corona-positive cases were reported in the country, which is the highest number since the pandemic was detected in March last year. 104 people died during the same period, taking the death toll to 14,276. The sample positivity rate also climbed up to 23.86%, marking a rise from 21.59% on Sunday and 22.50% a day earlier. Responding to the sharp uptick in the pandemic, the government of Bangladesh on Monday decided to enforce a 7-day countrywide restriction from the 1st of July. The closure of the border for public movement with India has also been extended further for 2 weeks beyond June 30th. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa reimposed restrictions for 2 weeks to combat a surge in the highly contagious coronavirus Delta variant. The president, in a televised address to the nation on Sunday, said that the country is facing massive resurgence of the infection.
The recommendation of the National Coronavirus Command Council, Cabinet has decided that the country should move to adjusted alert level 4. We will place this additional restriction in place for the next 14 days. A curfew will be in place from 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. and all non-essential establishments will need to close by 8 p.m. The sale of alcohol, both for on-site and off-site consumption, is prohibited.
Australia's Queensland state on Monday reintroduced mandatory masks and limited home gatherings in several areas, including state capital Brisbane, following a similar move by Western Australia officials for the state capital Perth. Restrictions remain in place in Victoria, state capital Melbourne and the national capital Canberra. Sydney, Australia's most populous city, entered a 2-week lockdown over the weekend, while the northern city of Darwin entered a 2-day shutdown as officials grapple to contain the outbreaks. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia will start inoculating young people aged 12 to 18 years against COVID-19 with the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. It was approved by Saudi Food and Drug Authority, the health ministry said in a tweet on Sunday. This is All India Radio giving you the world news.
The centre is disseminating awareness of national helpline numbers for the benefit of citizens during the COVID-19 pandemic. The helpline number of the Health and Family Welfare Ministry is 1075. The child helpline number is 1098. For senior citizens of Delhi, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand, the helpline number is 14567. The helpline number of National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, NIMHANS, for psychological support is 08046110007. Ayush COVID-19 counselling helpline number is 14443 and MyGov WhatsApp help desk number is 9013151515.
Welcome back. India's Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla has said that member states need to demonstrate greater political will to hold the perpetrators of terrorism and their sponsors to account. He was speaking at the United Nations Security Council open debate on children and armed conflict on Monday. He called for ending impunity for all actors responsible for inciting and perpetrating grave violations against children. He said that there must be greater accountability and sincere efforts in bringing the perpetrators to justice by governments from whose territory such entities operate. Mr. Shringla said that the Council may consider incorporating adequate child protection provisions and capacities in all relevant mandates of UN peacekeeping operations. He noted with concern that despite the Council's clear mandate, the Secretary-General's report included allegations that are not situations of armed conflicts or threats to the maintenance of international peace and security. Meanwhile, Secretary-General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, called on member states to strengthen the conduct of peacekeeping personnel. In a video message, Mr. Guterres made these remarks on the occasion of the meeting of member states on strengthening the conduct of peacekeeping personnel.
The vast majority of our personnel live up to the highest standards of conduct. But when they do not, it has a devastating impact on victims and survivors and undermines our operational efficiency and our global reputation. We have steadily made progress on improving training and creating safe ways to report misconduct. We are working to increase transparency, strengthen internal accountability, and emphasize the needs and rights of victims and survivors. Member States are our vital partners in all these efforts. I thank those that have concluded a voluntary compact, joined my circle of leadership, and contributed to the Trust Fund for the Victims of Sexual Exploitation and Abuse. I now ask all of you to go further.
In Bangladesh, at least 7 people died and 50 others were injured in an explosion in the bustling commercial area of Moghbazar in the capital city, Dhaka. According to reports, buses, cars and pedestrians in the vicinity during the time of the blast suffered damages and injuries. The Commissioner of Dhaka Metropolitan Police, Mohammad Shafiqul Islam, told BSS that 7 buildings were damaged in the blast, in which 7 people were killed. The fire service and police carried out drives to recover the victims of the accident. The injured have been shifted to the Dhaka Medical College Hospital and Sheikh Hasina National Institute of Burn and Plastic Surgery and other hospitals in the city. The explosion took place in a multi-story building, but the reason behind the blast could not be known immediately. However, police officials suspect that the explosion took place due to gas leakage, and it does not look like an act of sabotage. Investigation is continuing.
Israel's new Foreign Minister Yair Lapid met his American counterpart Antony Blinken on Sunday. Mr. Blinken is on a tour of Europe. In the meeting, Israel expressed serious reservations about Iran nuclear deal being put together in Vienna. According to U.S. officials, the two had a very positive, very warm discussion in their first face-to-face meeting since Israel's new government was sworn in 2 weeks ago. The main topics were the nuclear deal and Israel's normalization accords with Gulf Arab states, as well as humanitarian aid to Gaza and the status of East Jerusalem. Lapid, in brief remarks ahead of the meeting in Rome, said that Israel has some serious reservations about the Iran nuclear deal that is being put together in Vienna. U.S. officials said that Blinken told Lapid that Washington would remain in close contact with Israel over the Iran negotiations. Meanwhile, the Iranian parliament on Sunday announced that an agreement to share images from certain nuclear sites with the International Atomic Energy Agency IAEA has ended. According to reports, Parliamentary Speaker Mohammad Bakr Khalibaf told lawmakers that none of the information subject to recording will be given to the IAEA, but will remain at the disposal of the Islamic Republic of Iran. But the two sides had agreed on a 3-month deal in February to share some images so as to maintain at least some monitoring of its atomic activities. Iran has been progressively reducing its cooperation with the UN watchdog that formed part of the 2015 JCPOA with the P5+1 powers. Airstrikes by the United States on eastern Syria near the border with Iraq killed at least 5 Iran-backed militia fighters on Monday. According to the Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, 5 Iran-backed Iraqi militia fighters were killed and several others were wounded in an attack by U.S. warplanes on the Syrian side of the frontier. Syria's state-run news agency said 1 child had been killed and that at least 3 more people were wounded. The strikes confirmed by the Pentagon on a statement marked the second such U.S. attack on Iran-backed militias in Syria since President Joe Biden took office. They targeted operational and weapons storage facilities at 2 locations in Syria and 1 in Iraq, the Pentagon said in a statement. In February, U.S. strikes on facilities in East Syria used by Iran-backed militia groups left more than 20 fighters dead, according to the observatory. The Pentagon said the strikes were retaliation for a rocket attack in Iraq that killed 1 civilian contractor and wounded a U.S. service member and other coalition troops.
Iraq, Egypt and Jordan took a step towards deepening a regional alliance by holding tripartite talks in Baghdad on Monday. Talks range from trade to the West Asia crisis. Egyptian head of state visited Iraq for the first time in 30 years. Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was greeted by Iraq's President Barham Saleh upon arriving this morning. Jordan's King Abdullah II arrived shortly afterwards. He and al-Sisi then met with Iraqi Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kadhimi for a 3rd round of tripartite talks. Al-Kadhimi aims to shore up regional alliances and bolsters Iraq's standing in West Asia as a mediator capable of bringing even the staunchest of foes to the negotiating table. Baghdad recently hosted talks between Iran and Saudi Arabia focusing on the war in Yemen. A statement issued after the meeting said the 3 sides also agreed on the importance of security and intelligence coordination to combat terrorism, drug trafficking and cybercrime. The White House, in a statement, welcomed the historic visit to Baghdad by the President of Egypt and King of Jordan. It added that the visit is an important step in strengthening regional economic and security ties between Egypt, Iraq and Jordan and to advance regional stability. And now a report from the business world.
Sensex at the Bombay Stock Exchange declined 189 points to close at 52,736. Nifty at the National Stock Exchange dropped 46 points or 0.3% to end at 15,815. In global equity markets, Asian markets experienced weakness as traders took a breather after last week's rally while keeping tabs on Federal Reserve monetary policy plans in light of the positive outlook for the global economy. Japan's Nikkei 225 and Hong Kong's Hang Seng dropped just 0.1% each, while China's Shanghai Composite Index and South Korea's Kospi Index closed almost flat. However, Singapore's Straits Times advanced 0.2%. Crude oil prices fell after touching 2.5 years highs last week. Brent crude oil futures slipped 1% to $76.17 a barrel, while U.S. crude was down 4 cents at $74.09 a barrel. Back home, gold prices rose 16 rupees to trade at 46,941 rupees per 10 gram at the multi-commodity exchange for August delivery, while silver gained 60 rupees to trade at 67,993 rupees per kilogram for July contracts. And the rupee inched up 1 paise to close at 74 rupees and 19 paise against the US dollar. This is Lalema Aneja Dang for World News, All India Radio.
And now moving on to sports. In Wimbledon tennis, defending champion Novak Djokovic was off to a winning start, beating Jack Draper. Djokovic, riding on a wave of confidence after emerging triumphant at the Roland Garros earlier this month, is in pursuit of a third consecutive Wimbledon title. Stepping onto the centre court, the world number one dropped the first set, but came back with an impeccable performance to win 4-6, 6-1, 6-2, 6-2. In the women's singles, number 2 seed Victoria Sabalenka defeats Monica Niculescu in straight sets. In the Eurocup football, Croatia were level with Spain with a goal each at the half-time when reports last came in. Croatia went ahead with a bizarre own goal by Spanish goalkeeper Unai Simon. However, the Spaniards came back strong and level with a strike from Sarabia. Ahead of its round of 16 matches, Croatia winger Ivan Perisic was tested positive and thus misses the round of 16 clash against Spain. In the second match later tonight, world champion France will clash with Switzerland at Bucharest. The match starts at 12:30 a.m. with big names like Kylian Mbappe, Anthony Griezmann and Karim Benzema. In the setup, France has enough attacking power to win back-to-back major titles. The winners of Croatia versus Spain and France versus Switzerland matches will square off in the first quarter-final of the Euro Cup. Yesterday, Belgium and Czech Republic entered the quarter-finals. In the first game of the day, Czech Republic beat the Netherlands by 2-0 in Budapest. Goals from Thomas Ols and Patrick Schick helped the Czech Republic in defeating 10-man Netherlands to sail through the quarter-finals. In the second match of the day, Belgium beat defending champions Portugal 1-0 in Seville. Thorgan Hazard's sensational strike in the first half remained the difference as the Portuguese were unable to get their goal. In the Copa America, Brazil played out a 1-1 draw with Ecuador, while Peru defeated Venezuela 1-0. Uruguay will face Paraguay, while Bolivia will take on Argentina in their respective group stage matches later tonight. Ace archer Deepika Kumari has regained the world number one ranking in the latest world rankings released on Monday after the third stage World Archery Championship held in Paris. Deepika created a new record by winning 3 gold medals in a single day, along with winning the gold medal in the individual women's recurve event.
With around 25 days remaining for the start of the Tokyo Olympics, All India Radio brings a special series on India's medal prospects at the sporting extravaganza. Today we will talk about the Indian badminton contingent.
172 players will vie for medals in 5 badminton events at the Tokyo Olympics this time. India's medal hopes are shouldered by the PV Sindhu, B. Sai Praneeth, Satvik Sairaj Ranki Reddy and Chirag Shetty. The Indian shuttlers will draw inspiration from Saina Nehwal, who had become the first female badminton player in the country to win a bronze medal at the 2012 London Olympics. Following this, PV Sindhu created history by winning a silver medal in 2016 Rio Olympics. India will battle it out with traditional favorites China, South Korea, Thailand, Denmark and Indonesia for the medal. In an exclusive interview with AIN News, India's head coach for the Tokyo Olympic badminton team, Pulela Gopichand, speaks about the team's preparations.
ये 4 प्लेयर का प्रिपरेशन अच्छी तरह से हो रहा है.
Gopichand shares that the team is currently in its last leg of preparation in Hyderabad.
ये सारे हैदराबाद में ही है और इनका सभी का प्रैक्टिस यहीं पे हैदराबाद में हो रहा है.
The Indian government has played a supportive role in India's quest for the gold in badminton.
जो भी चाहिए सपोर्ट वो गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से और टॉप स्कीम की तरफ से हमें मिला है. सो खिलाड़ियों के जो नेसेसिटीज है उनको बहुत अच्छी तरह और बहुत जल्दी टॉप स्कीम द्वारा दिया गया और हम बहुत खुश है इस सपोर्ट के लिए.
Gopichand speaks highly of PV Sindhu, who has taken Indian badminton to unprecedented heights already in her young career.
उम्मीद है कि इस बार एक से ज्यादा मेडल आए और बेहतर रंग आए. तो उम्मीद है कि इस बार खिलाड़ियों का प्रदर्शन पिछली बार से अच्छा रहेगा.
Gopichand remarks that the team was motivated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi's continuous emphasis on sports, his encouraging words through the Man Ki Baat program.
I think it's really wonderful to have the Prime Minister of the country talk about sport. It's a huge thing because never before has the highest office in the country spoken about sport in this manner. If I look back, 2015, there were about 7 or 8 Man Ki Baats which actually had continuously sport being spoken about. And also very important to note that even when people were losing at the Olympics, the Prime Minister's message was very clear. He said, give it your best shot and we are here to support you. If you win or lose, it doesn't matter.
Gopichand appealed to the listeners of All India Radio to shower the Indian Olympic contingent with their wishes.
I think इस मुश्किल समय में सभी लोग सेफ रहे और दुआ करें, प्रे करें कि हमें ओलंपिक में अच्छी परफॉर्मेंसेस मिले.
The entire country in one voice wish the athletes all the best and hope that the players play the best badminton of their lives at the Tokyo Olympics. Siddharth Singh, Sports Desk.
And now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. Washington Post writes that Israel, counting on herd immunity, declines to reimpose most restrictions as Delta variant spreads. Sputnik News writes that Putin, Xi officially announced extension of Chinese-Russian friendship cooperation deal. Sputnik News also writes that U.S. destroyer enters Ukrainian port to take part in Black Sea multinational maritime exercise. Wall Street Journal writes that UK's Labour Party fights to keep blue-collar voters from moving to the right. Financial Times cites a new study and writes that China's cyber power at least a decade behind the US. Globe and the Mail write that cost to search for unmarked graves identified remains at residential schools could exceed $1 billion. The Guardian reports that New Zealand to ban most single-use plastics by 2025. Gulf Times reports that Qualcomm to work with more than 30 companies on a faster 5G variant.
And a quick look at the headlines once again. External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar will attend the G20 ministerial meeting in Rome on Tuesday. Swedish Prime Minister Stefan Löfven resigns a week after losing vote of confidence. Iraq, Egypt and Jordan hold tripartite talks in Baghdad to deepen regional alliance. India surpasses US in the number of COVID vaccines administered. Prime Minister Modi hails achievement. Bangladesh reports highest single-day COVID-19 infection. Army to enforce strict lockdown from the 1st of July. Explosion in Dhaka kills at least 7 people and injures 50 others. In tennis, Novak Djokovic kicks off the third consecutive Wimbledon title hunt with a win over Jack Draper. In ISSF World Cup shooting, India's Rahi Sarnobat wins the gold in women's 25 meters pistol event in Osijek, Croatia. And in Euro 2020 football, Croatia take on Spain and France will take on Switzerland in the round of 16 knockout matches. India is celebrating the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to a favorite bhajan, Vaishnavajan, by artists from Kuwait.
वैष्णवजन तो दीने कहिए जे बीध पराई जानी रे बरदू के उपकार करे तो ये मन अभिमान ना.
And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.